What you are about to hear is highly classified. Pay attention and listen at all times. And most importantly, remember, the transmissions from Zone 4 robot tried to pull that whole no strings on me thing. That's when we kicked his tin can butt down the pit after the 300th episode of Zone 4.
You can't keep a good robot down.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are now entering the Avengers Age of Ultron episode of Zone 4. And welcome back to the Zone. I'm Brant Fowler.
I'm Gordon Domowski.
And I'm Captain Ron Fortier. And if any of you hear any kind of slurping noise going on while we're having the show, I'm nursing my nightly Theraflu. I got a little bit of a head cold, but I am going to persevere. Unlike a missing member who, does anybody know what happened to John?
Actually, I think I have something. And I say I think because John and I were talking via Skype, and it kept cutting out, so I don't think I caught it all. But it sounded like he said he had some kind of role in a movie about a civil war and something to do with Captain America. I'm not sure if that's quite what he was saying.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, you know, as many people are already in that movie, that does not surprise me at all.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that as we go along with the show. But talk about a boat being overfilled and capsizing. Holy smokes.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Oh.
All right, so this is episode 307 of Zone 4. Crazy. And last time we were together, it was the anniversary show. So it seems like it's been forever ago, but I guess it's only been a couple weeks. So
yeah, well, I mean, you get all these different Zone 4, what do you call spin-offs, I guess.
Yeah.
We're doing the same thing as Marvel is doing, so there you go.
All right. So
does that mean we're going to have like a big crossover mega event where we like fight each other? So like, am I like going to have to take on Mike Spider Slayer in Battle World or something?
we that would actually be kind of interesting. We should do something like that. We can make that happen.
Either that or a swap co-host, you know.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I could see getting Mike on Airship 27.
That would be interesting.
What the hell is he talking about?
That's one Black Bat. Is that Bruce Wayne?
Actually, I think I should be, to cross over. Like, I'll switch and do the comic thing if we talk about Convergence. Because, oh boy, I got a lot to say about Convergence.
It's a very repetitive Convergence. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Before we get too deep, we should mention we are proud members of the Comics Podcast Network. You can find us on comicspodcasts.com each and every episode, along with a bunch of other podcasts over there. As wind enters the tunnel.
Sounded like Darth Vader was behind something,
I saw a cool shirt. It's probably an old concept. I think I've seen it online, the meme and stuff. But I was at Kohl's last night, and there was a Darth Vader shirt, and it had like his face just repeated in boxes, and it was like angry, sad, happy, and it was all the same face. And
Well, have either of you guys seen the little video that went viral about the father who was rocking his baby to sleep?
No.
And making Darth Vader breathing noises?
No.
And it puts the baby to sleep. So you realize, of course, when this child is like, 11 or 12, and the first time he ever sees Star Wars,
yeah, he's
gonna fall asleep in the theater. Darth Vader comes on.
Oh, that's funny.
Unless he's watching episodes 1, 2, and 3, then he'll be falling asleep for a totally different reason.
How true.
That's it. I'm excited for the Star Wars movie, and I think I'm going to try to watch all 6 leading up to it, since there's 6 months before it comes out.
Oh, okay.
I figured that'd be fun. I don't know.
Why not? I mean, it's like all the comic fans did with the Avengers Age of Ultron movie. I mean, there were a lot of theaters across the country that had marathon viewings of all the separate shows, et cetera, et cetera. So,
Absolutely.
One way to get into the spirit of the thing, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a good segue, actually.
Segue!
Our topic this episode is Avengers: Age of Ultron. But before we get into Age of Ultron, we should talk a little bit about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because it's really kind of planted seeds here and there leading up to Age of Ultron. I mean, it's not something that you have to watch to watch Age of Ultron, but it was a nice little thing to throw in these little connections for the fans, I thought.
Right, and I appreciated that as well too, because as it turned out, and I'm really happy for that. A lot of people rushed out to the theaters to see this, the Avengers movie when it came out last Thursday.
Right.
And I held off and waited until the start of this week. Went to see it Monday morning, and then the following night saw the follow-up Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yep.
show, which immediately picks up after the movie.
Right.
And that was brilliant. I mean, it was like, it's again what they did last season in the mid-break. Although this year, they were a lot more sneaky and conniving about what was going on.
Right.
Because last year we had the rug pulled out of us when we found out Ward was a Hydra agent, and from Captain America: Winter Soldier, and Hydra was around and plotting all this stuff, and it had infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. But this one was so convoluted, and we got tidbits about the Inhumans, and then this what is it, Project Theta or whatever, and Coulson being secretive from May.
Right.
All up until the end, where he turns around and tells Rodriguez last week that Fury's still alive.
Yeah. Spoiler.
The look on James Olmo's face, he's such a class actor, all right? I mean, it was like he wanted to say a million things, but he couldn't think of anything to say because every point he had was mute.
Yeah. It was funny when he said spoiler too about Nick Fury being alive, and then Mockingbird kind of smiles, gets this little smirk on her face.
Yep,
it was a classic moment. And I mean, they referenced the twins, meaning Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver in that episode.
Yep. Right,
and
Raina had the vision of the metal men attacking the world.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So good stuff. I mean, it was nice and clever. As much as I love Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I know it has its critics. And last season, I think it was a little bit clunkier leading up to the Winter Soldier movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, it became a completely different show after.
Right.
But I think this year they handled it right. They kind of sprinkled it in a little bit more. It didn't feel quite as forced.
Exactly.
So,
it was much more integrated into what was actually happening with Coulson and his team.
Right.
I think it also helped that they didn't have a movie anytime between, within the season. That's what I think happened with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 1. They can't do any important plot points until the movie, then, boom, it's got to hit the ground running.
Right.
I think Series 2, they're integrating some things from Guardians of the Galaxy in a very roundabout manner, and they did it in a way that was kind of laying the groundwork for not only future Marvel movies, but I like the fact that this last I saw Ultron Tuesday morning, so I saw it right before the episode.
Mm-hmm.
The nice thing is the episode did not spoil the movie at all.
Right.
Totally.
Yeah, which I love that too. Yeah, you got the reference that that happened, but there was no, like you said, no spoilers, nothing to worry about if you relate seeing the movie. So, yeah.
And I like the fact that they opened it up for us as far as they gave us the flashback sequence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where Coulson sees them rebuilding the carrier.
Right.
Right, and I'm going, okay, because when the show started, I was trying to figure out, okay, where's this going? All right, then it says, what was it, like 9 months earlier or something?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, right, and that sets it all up, and you go, oh man, that was really nice. All the pieces of the puzzle came together. Now, I know you have this set at the agenda for the end of the show, but since we're into it, we really ought to talk about last night's Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
That's fine. Yeah.
No, because I don't know if you noticed this or not, because next week's episode, they did a last minute switch on their time schedules, and they're giving us the last 2 hours in one evening.
Yeah, I did notice that.
It was supposed to, next week was supposed to be part one of the finale, and when the show ended last night, it was, come back next week for the 2-hour wrap up.
Right.
And I went, oh, okay, so ABC must have had some scheduling things. They thought, we could probably use better and have a big event to wrap up S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, so it's like a little mini movie for us. Yeah.
Considering the way it ended last night, we're going to need those 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it also could be prevention. I mean, the local CW affiliate decided, rather than show the Flash at its usual day and time, moved it to Sunday because a Cubs game was more important.
Oh no.
Luckily, I know I don't want to get too off tangent. I have already seen the Grodd episode of Flash, but it's just shame on you, WGN. You used to have class.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a Cubs game.
Grodd's much more important than the Cubs. Come on.
But no, I definitely agree about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Definitely agree.
I think also, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the week after, like next week is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season finale. I think the week after that is the season finales for Arrow and Flash.
Right.
So, they're smart because they're not putting their finale up against Flash finale, more or less. So.
Right.
Yeah, I think
right, to that degree. Right, because, I know the Flash has got 2 more episodes. Right? Arrow, I'm not 100% sure. Arrow might be wrapping up next week.
Yeah, it might be.
I think Arrow has. I watched it last night. I think, and it kept saying 2 more episodes.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't watched last night's yet.
Okay, well, no spoilers.
Yeah.
Okay. But, okay, back to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
Okay? Because I got to ask, all right? Because Rodriguez and whatever and the other agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. tell Coulson, we're going to go. We can't trust you. You're emotionally involved with Sky. Right. We're going to go meet the Inhumans, all that good stuff, okay? Which, by the time you get to what happened, and hey, folks listening, if you haven't seen the show, sorry, but spoilers aplenty. Here we go, all right? By the time you get to that really dramatic sequence when Sky's mother shows her true colors, right? Didn't you know? Oh, well, that's why Coulson wasn't there, because you can't kill him off.
Right.
So you killed off the other guy, all right? Which but then she shoots herself in the shoulder, and I'm going, oh my God, she's just as bad as her father is. I feel sorry for Sky.
Yeah.
Now,
from some bad seeds. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I know. So here's the point, though. In that whole convoluted story, there's what's her face, May and Bobby Morse, supposedly in another Quinjet, and I'm going, where are they supposed to be going? What are they all about?
Right. And
then of course we find out it's not May. Bobby beats her only to walk out into an open field like, gee, where am I? And get shot by Ward, who then, back in the plane, says to Agent 33, I'm not, she said, why don't you kill her now? Oh, no, I can't do that because we're probably going to need her later. And then he points the gun down and shoots twice more. What am I missing? Did he or didn't he shoot her again?
I think he shot her with an icer, the thing that puts him to sleep. So, yeah.
Okay.
So I think he just knocked her out. And Ward confuses me. He's so, it's so funny because I remember when we were first talking about the show when it first came on and stuff, and I hated Ward. I hated his character. He was so boring, and it seems brilliant now looking back how they played us, making us think that he's this basically white toast figure in the team and everything.
Yeah, they do right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's got so many layers and he's so devious, and they write him so well.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know, and that well, like I said, when he shot down, it sounded like real gunshots, and to me brought back images of him killing that other S.H.I.E.L.D. supervisor last season,
right?
For the Quinjet, all right. So yeah, I will buy your rationale, because I know for a fact that what's her name, Adrian Palacki, or however you say her name, has signed on
Right.
as a regular cast member and will be back next season. So obviously she's not dead.
At first, I thought he had shot her too, and then I was like, man, surely not. And then when he did it again, I was like, oh, it has to be the icers.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But now we're in for a full-out war between S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Inhumans.
Yeah. And you know, lo and behold, it seems like Raina was actually trying to do the right thing there, because she knew something bad was going to happen unless she was the one that spoke with S.H.I.E.L.D. And
Yeah.
I thought she was playing them, and they flipped the script on us, and I thought that was brilliant too.
Right. Yeah. Oh no, really. And yeah, because I didn't see that coming with Sky's mother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then when it happened, I'm like, oh my God, how devious is this woman?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you got to understand, this is a woman that was involved with Kyle MacLachlan's character.
True.
So you got to have to wonder, like,
Yeah.
you know, no one. If you see someone going off the deep end, you either have to be really super sweet, or you got to be kind of twisted yourself.
Yeah. That's very true.
Well, yeah, it's going back to Sky's parentage, you know. Oh my God. And it's, of course, the whole thing, you know, the 2-hour finale next week, and that's why I'm chomping to see it more than ever now, is really going to be centered around Sky.
Yeah, she's gonna have to make that choice. What side's she on? And
The Inhumans or S.H.I.E.L.D.
right.
And can she at all look beyond who her mother's, you know, deceit?
Yeah, I mean, because they've been playing with this since episode 1 of season 1. That, you know, Sky has, you know, it's been kind of her quest to find her parents and that kind of thing, and you know, she finally finds them, connects with them, feels like she has this connection, this past, this thing inside her that joins them now, and now she's brought with this reality and has to really make that choice, and it's very interesting and it's very emotional.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, listening to what you just said, Raina may be the tipping scale. If Raina has a sense that Jing Young played everybody, she could conceivably tell Sky.
Yeah. But would Sky believe her?
Yeah, that's the other thing too. Although I got to think, and I forget what his name is, the gentleman without the eyes who teleports.
You mean Gordon?
Gordon.
Okay.
How could you forget that name?
How could I forget? Jeez, there you go. Anyways, he was definitely siding with Raina last night.
Mm-hmm.
And you got the feeling that he was suspicious of Jing Yang.
Yeah.
So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. Yeah.
Next week, things are going to blow up.
I'm excited for it.
I fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. It's a really, you know, full out, you know, episode. Again with Ward and his paramour as the wild cards, and where they're going to go with that. I mean, with Rodriguez dead now, all right. I mean, his faction and Sheila aren't going to be too happy with Coulson.
Right.
But you know, if I'm Coulson, hey, he wanted to go.
Yeah. And now
wasn't me.
Yeah. Now Mockingbird's missing. Mac quit. I mean.
Oh yeah. What was that with Mac? All right.
I don't know.
Jeez.
That was crazy. Maybe he just wasn't testing well with the audience. They just wanted to get him out of there. I don't know.
I don't think we've seen the last of him.
Yeah.
I don't buy that.
Yeah, and keep in mind, he was part of, you know, you had Hydra collapse. He was part of the other S.H.I.E.L.D., the Rodriguez S.H.I.E.L.D.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Now they're trying to get along, and some of the people he worked side by side with don't trust him. Of course, he's going to be like, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, I mean, there is talk of them doing a spin-off series for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And there's not many details out there. I don't know if you guys have even heard about this.
Yeah. Well, that was the one with Mockingbird, right?
I believe so. And, you know, there was talk about, you know, some of the cast kind of shifting off over there, you know, and then bringing the focus back to that core cast again on the main show. But I don't know. Yeah.
Because again, I'm not up on my Marvel history of the last, you know, 20 years or whatever. But when this all started floating around the internet, somebody actually made a comment that there was at one time a Marvel series dealing with a clandestine part of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like a super spy team in S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
And Morse as Mockingbird was part of that.
Okay.
So
Was that Sword, maybe?
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, okay.
That's what it was called. So a lot of people are thinking, the folks at Marvel, Studios and ABC are looking at adapting that as the spinoff.
Oh, that could be interesting.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, whatever they do, I'm excited. Marvel's just killing it. I love their programming.
Oh, how they integrate everything blows my mind. And yeah, I mean, right now, the only thing they've got is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. on television, so I would certainly welcome the spinoff. I mean, looking across the aisle, DC just seems to be popping them out right and left. And if I can go off track just a little bit here, two major things happened with DC announcements. Okay, and that was they've greenlit the Supergirl series.
Yeah.
So that is definitely happening.
Right.
And they finally came up with a name, and it's official for the spinoff between Flash and Arrow.
Yeah. Yeah, I just saw that today.
Legends of Tomorrow.
Right. And led by Rip Hunter. So.
Right. And Black Canary, the old Black Canary, is going to be in it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which is mind-boggling in and of itself.
Right. I don't know if they're going to pull her out of time, if it's going to be flashbacks. We don't know. But it's interesting, and I like the fact that they're putting Ray Palmer over there, because for me, he just doesn't work in Arrow.
Well, yeah, he becomes the fifth wheel for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if I may interject, I know we got to get back on track to Marvel stuff. Is anyone else tired of the cutesy little Superman references they've made?
Yes.
In both, it's like, it's a bird, it's a plane. Give it up, dude. We get the joke.
Right.
Oh yeah. Well, I still got to tell you though. To me though, the Flash episode with Mark Hamill telling his son, "I'm your father."
Yes.
Oh God. I was on the floor, guys. My side hurt. I was laughing so much.
That was awesome.
I mean, you got to imagine the writers' conference that day. Somebody going, "Should we?"
Yeah.
No, they'll never let it go. Oh, come on, cancel it, blah 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 blah. And they did it. They put it right in there.
Yeah. It worked perfectly. And Ron, I know you don't have Netflix, but when it comes out on DVD, I implore you to get Daredevil.
Oh, that's a done deal.
Yeah, it's so awesome.
Yeah, hey Brant, none of my comic friends here or online or whatever, I have yet to hear one person give me a negative review of that series. All right, I mean, people have just ranted and raved constantly, so it's a done deal. I mean, although you'll laugh, my wife, we were talking, I said, "Oh, this is second it's on DVD, I'm going to go pick it up. I really want to watch this." And she turned around and she goes, "Fine, but one a week, right?" No binge watching. I said, no. In fact, personally, I can get why people binge watch. I get it, but the point is, I love to savor that once a week experience.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, this has gotten such great reviews. I know I'm not going to be disappointed. So when the set comes out, I'm going to go buy it, and Valerie and I will pick one night a week, and we'll watch Daredevil.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And when that happens, you got to tell us what you think.
Okay. Yeah, I will happily do that. All right. So now,
yes,
Avengers: Age of Ultron,
the sequel we've been waiting for 3 years.
Which is the last time I looked online per the items you had here, Brant, $627 million global.
Yeah, it's it's funny because I was seeing some people. There's been negative comments. We'll get into that maybe the whole Whedon thing. We'll talk about that later. But the numbers don't lie. It's hugely successful. Second biggest day. Second largest domestic opening ever. I mean, biggest take for a Thursday premiere. Yeah. So many records. I mean, it's making, and it's not surprising to us. Obviously the first Avengers film did amazing as well. But yeah, it's exciting knowing that so many people are still excited about these.
Well, and the thing is, the first Avenger movie so made really set the bar extremely high.
Right.
But what it did was it really played to the comic fans out here in the world.
Mm-hmm.
All of us, especially I mean, this thing crosses, I think, every generation without any doubt. I mean, there are people who like, the Avengers, like, that are my age from the get-go, okay, the early Avengers. And there are people who, over the years, each succeeding generation have come to the team and enjoyed it for one reason or another. I think it was brilliant of Marvel to basically do the best they could in sticking to the old setup of the Avengers, the way Stan Lee and Jack Kirby first presented it to the world. And I think that was the genius of the first movie, to the point of having Captain America be the linchpin, to start all this. But now, watching this second one, all right, and you go into the theater going, okay, I'm in for a wild ride, because that's what happened the last time, and that's what you totally expect.
Mm-hmm.
And you sit there, and the movie takes off, and it's just, it's what good sequels are supposed to be. It's more of the same stuff plus new stuff.
Yeah.
Okay? And so Whedon, being the consummate movie maker and storyteller, all right, basically gives us more of the same, while at the same time having paid attention to what a lot of the fans, might have just said, geez, I wish you could have done a little more with Hawkeye, you got short shrift, and those kind of things, all right? And he turns that on its bloody head and gives us some really insightful, great character moments, between all the action stuff. And I got to tell you guys, I mean, my barometer for these kind of comic book, blockbusters is Valerie, because she's not a comic book geek. She didn't grow up reading comic books, okay? So she's loved all the Marvel movies up to now. She loved the first Avenger movie. Well, we watched this one the other day. The movie's done, and the movie runs approximately, I think, 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So the movie's done. We're sitting in the theater, they're rolling the credits and everything. And I turn around to look at it to get a reaction, and she just smiles at me and goes, that was fun. She goes, I like that. And then she goes, and it didn't seem long at all.
Yeah.
And bingo. There you go.
Yep.
All right? Good storytelling, people do not get tired in their seats.
Right, yeah. The pacing was really nice that way. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's not perfect. I do have actually a couple of nitpicks that I'll get to, but they're really nitpicky. They're just tiny little things that bother me. Personally, just as a fan of certain things. But I did want to mention one thing. You talked about the first Avengers film, how it harkened back to the Lee and Kirby, basically the same essence that they presented back then. And I love that this one, in a way, did that too, because of the introduction of Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. And, that was the next phase of Avengers back then. You bring in those two and Hawkeye, and it was like this nice little nod to the history of the comics.
Right,
way. Yeah.
Right. I mean, look, a little bit of comic book history for those people nowhere near my age, all right? When the Avengers first came out, the core team, all right, was pretty much what we saw in the first movie, except instead of Black Widow or whatever, we had Ant-Man.
Right.
Okay, so it was basically the Hulk, Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America. Well, not Captain America, and Giant Man or Ant-Man. And then in a couple issues, Captain America showed up. All right, and that was the core of the group. The kicker was, though, Marvel, in creating these characters over a period of 6 months, and no lie, I mean, they were throwing them out like an assembly line, guys. Every month there was a new powerful character coming out. Well, naturally, that's what they were doing. They're creating powerful characters. To the point where Stan Lee has said in multiple interviews over the year, towards the end of the first year of the Avengers comic book, he realized that the mistake they'd made was putting all their heavy hitters together in one team.
Right.
And it was getting almost impossible to find a villain worthy of them.
Right. So
somehow or other, he and whoever else was working on the book at the time got this brilliant idea of just toning it down, letting the big guys pack their bags and go. Now, the Hulk hadn't really stuck around more than 2 or 3 issues anyway, so he was already gone. Mm-hmm. And then Iron Man got caught up with his own affairs, which led to that whole series of him and alcoholism.
Right.
And Thor had all kinds of battles happening back in Asgard. So, sure enough, the grumblings were happening towards the end of the first year, so that you go back and, I have no idea the numbers, guys, but it's like issue 13 or 14.
Yeah.
I'm at the newsstand and I'm picking it up, and there's Captain America going, "I'd like to introduce the new Avengers."
Yep.
And there's former bad guys.
Yep.
All right? I mean, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver had been members of the Brotherhood of Mutants, all right, tutored by Magneto. And there was Hawkeye, who had been Iron Man's enemy, and the Vision.
Yeah.
Iron Man, the Vision wasn't even there. The Vision would come like 6 months later. But basically, it was Captain America and a group of second stringers.
Right.
Nowhere near as powerful as the original group. And I can remember, even as a kid, going, "Oh, this is going to be interesting."
Yeah.
And then immediately when you start reading it, these guys don't even like each other.
Right.
Hawkeye's mouthing off to Captain America. Captain America's the old stodgy World War II guy. Pietro and Scarlet Witch don't feel like they belong. They don't like humans, blah, blah, blah. So half of Cap's problem was like dealing with a bunch of unruly teenagers. And that was the tone for the new Avengers, which was brilliant. Well, I got to tell you, when you get to the end of Age of Ultron,
Yep.
and Thor takes off because he's got a mission someplace, the Hulk goes flying off to, Tahiti or whatever, okay, because he's got issues, and then Tony Stark is, he's still upset that Cap called him out for creating Ultron,
Right.
so he goes driving off in his Maserati, and what are we left with? Cap goes back in the hall, and I went, "Oh my God!" It was almost Brant. It's the same philosophy as they did the comic book, because all of a sudden, aside from the Vision, okay, and War Machine, maybe you've got another toned down Avengers.
Exactly. Yeah.
Black Widow, Cap, Scarlet Witch, and like I said, Falcon.
Yeah.
All right, the two heavy hitters in the group, War Machine and Vision. But for most likely, it's so reminiscent of that shift they did all those years ago in the comics.
Absolutely. Yeah. Gordon, you're quiet.
Gordon's not with us.
Oh, he's not with us. Oh, did not realize that.
He dropped out. I'm seeing the little Skype signal.
Yeah, I thought I heard something happen there. Well, while we try to get Gordon back, no, I knew you were going to get to that, and I love the fact that when they went to that point, it said on the screen "New Avengers Facility."
Yep.
And it was just that little nod to
Yep.
it's the New Avengers. Yeah, it's just this movie had so many good things. It was a lot of information to take in, and obviously they had to connect it to the other movies in a way that with the Thor thing, but just the way that they dealt with the emotions of the characters. You mentioned the character moments that they had on the farm, basically with once we met Hawkeye's family, which is one of my nitpicks, which I'll get to in a minute. But we had that nice moment between Tony and Cap. And we had, some stuff with Scarlet Witch and Hulk, which, again, we'll get to that in a minute. But that's something that a lot of people are upset about. And I don't know how far we want to go into that. But we also had some nice, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. But when Scarlet Witch was messing with their minds, showing them their fears and everything, I thought that was, I know a lot of people that I've seen are kind of iffy about that whole sequence, but I love that sequence. I thought it was brilliant diving into each one of these powerful characters and presenting them with their fears.
Right, their insecurities.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, it makes them more human.
Exactly. And I think we got Gordon back.
Yeah, I'm back.
Good.
Yeah, I just want to say, I want to thank Skype. You could have interrupted a boring business meeting I had a couple of days ago, but no, you had to interrupt Zone 4, so I apologize.
It's okay. What are your thoughts, Gordon?
Okay, well, I thoroughly enjoyed Age of Ultron. And I like some of the character beats. I actually happen to like the farm sequence because, I wanted more Hawkeye, and I like the fact that it wasn't just Hawkeye being badass. It was Hawkeye has a family that, is totally apart from S.H.I.E.L.D. and Avenging. So and I want a live-action Hawkeye movie because of this. I know a lot of people have kind of didn't really care for the Scarlet Witch Hulk, not Scarlet Witch, Black Widow Hulk romance. I actually thought it was very well handled, because it would make sense that if these two, one has a calming effect on the other, there would be a kind of bond. I mean, I like the fact that, Captain America says, I've experienced her flirting up close, and after a beat or two, Banner says, what do you mean up close?
Yeah, and there was a lot of we'll just touch on this because I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. There was controversy over all of that. There was the vocal minority on Twitter and so on and so forth, with feminist groups not happy with this and the portrayal of Black Widow or whatever. But I like you, I think they handled it right. They said she was flirtatious, and that's just her personality. She is a super spy, of course she is. That's part of her thing, But
yeah, she would almost do it unconsciously.
Right, exactly.
I mean, she was trained to be a femme fatale, to manipulate men.
Yeah,
but I'm going to stop the both of you right there, because I don't see that in her interaction with the Hulk.
No, exactly.
I think it's much more of a gentle, and I've never seen her as being flirty with anyone other than Daredevil.
Okay.
In the comics.
Okay. All right, fair enough.
It's like, I don't see her as yes, she can take care of herself in a fight. She's a master spy, but I don't see her in that kind of femme fatale.
Yeah.
Okay, now, let me carry this over, Gordon, though, a little bit. One of the things that I would argue with those fans who said that all that came out of left field, my thing is, no, it didn't. Go back to the first movie.
Exactly.
Who did Fury send to bring Banner in?
Yep, and there was that interaction with them when the Shield helicarrier was going down, and it was those two alone in the cargo hold or whatever. And they played up to this. They really did. I mean, you only had 2 movies to do this in, so you didn't have a lot of room.
When you see her going to that shack wherever he's hiding out, and the interplay between the two of them, to me that was the beginning. Yeah. All right, that laid the groundwork for 2 people who have pretty much checkered past, that are suffering inside, who meet and somehow or another instinctively recognize something in each other.
Yeah.
And that's what gets carried over into Avengers Age of Ultron, that I had absolutely no problems with.
I didn't either. Yeah. Go ahead, Ron, I'm sorry.
No, that whole sequence where she calms him down with a lullaby, I immediately thought of the first scene in the first Avengers movie when she met him and tried to, because he knew the SWAT team was all around the shack and could change any minute. And she was the one who calmly talked to him, who made him listen to her, blah, 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 all that stuff, okay? So like I said, it was just a progression of their relationship. Exactly. I totally bought it.
Yeah. And one other thing I want to, as far as Black Widow is concerned, I kind of want to nip in the bud, at least for our listeners. There was some concern over her saying that she felt like a monster because she couldn't have children. And that's not what she was saying at all. She was saying she felt like a monster because of the training that she had, which Gordon referred to, the training to become an assassin and leave all of normal life behind. And that was a part of it. Sure, but it wasn't the reason she was saying I feel like a monster. It was the whole package of her life being turned upside down and her becoming this killing machine.
Yeah, if you look at that whole sequence where the Scarlet Witch is using her hex power, those are character insights. I mean, that is, Steve Rogers he's back home. He sees Agent Carter. It's like he realizes, hey, look, that's the lost opportunity. With Thor, he has the vision of the Mind Stones and Heimdall. Okay, that's a character moment. We see the Black Widow have that character moment of she's wheeled on a gurney, she's being taught how to kill. And I think it's hard too, because I think I see a legitimate difference between something that may really be problematic, that if somehow the script said she was worthless because she could not have kids, that might be something to rally about.
Right.
But I think because it would be like the main issue I had with it, and this is going to sound really minor, are Ultron's lips moving when he talks. Okay? It's minor and it's quibbling, but I'm not going to go on Twitter and say, hey, look, this is a plot point. Whedon should be fired.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those that you kind of have to go. It's very easy to have that knee jerk. Oh, that's sexist. Oh, that's it. Without, the first thing you have to do is you have to look at what are the implications of it.
Right.
But the other thing too is, and I say this as being the progressive, pinko, liberal commie that I am. It's as much about looking at your own internal biases and figuring out, hey, look, this doesn't quite fit, before me saying that's wrong.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah. I mean, when you look at these characters working together in this movie as opposed to the first Avenger movie, again, they were character beats in the first movie. And, Whedon, as the writer of both movies, I think is skillful enough to add to both, all right, and to balance them. Mm-hmm. So whatever character beats the Black Widow had in the first movie, they were lucky enough to have Captain America Winter Soldier in between the two Avengers movie, because you watch her arc from the first Avenger movie through the Winter Soldier, and who's the one comic book character in all of Marvel Universe that Black Widow immediately identifies with? The Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Because she underwent the same thing he did. He was brainwashed like she was.
Yeah.
So she totally gets him, all right? Which goes back to her relationship with Clint Barton and Hawkeye.
Yeah.
And it's never a romantic one in the films. It's one of friendship.
Right.
And she tells him, you saved my life.
If Black Widow... I think to kind of maybe summarize what you're trying to say, Ron, if Black Widow were a man, she and Hawkeye would be bros.
Right.
Yes, totally. Right. There you go.
Oh. And, getting off of that, one thing I did want to mention about the flashbacks for Black Widow, I love that, looking back on it now, that the Agent Carter TV series kind of linked to that in a way, because, you had the same kind
the
of...
ballerinas.
Yeah, the indoctrination.
Ballerinas, of course.
Yeah. I love that. I love that there was that connection that you didn't even know existed,
Yep.
And then they put it out there just as this little thing. So if you watched Agent Carter, it enhanced your whole experience of that portion of the movie.
That's the school system under which Natasha was brought up.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, yes.
A lot of clever beats in here. I think a lot of people are overlooking, and I think they're looking at an overview of things and not really grasping the intricacies of this plot.
Well, again, anytime you do a film like this, and I have to tell you guys, I thought the first film was an amazing achievement in handling so many characters in one film.
Right.
And pulling it off. So when, we started hearing about this new one coming along, and now it was like, oh, well, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch are going to be here, right? And then, ultimately, you're going to have the Vision. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, my God, this world is getting so crowded, okay? I'm starting to get a little nervous that, people are going to start complaining about, well, like the old Star Trek movie, you didn't have enough screen time, and you forgot this one and that stuff. But, again, watching this thing take place, I think it's brilliant that he starts it with Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
All right? And again, staying to the comic tradition, they're villains.
Right.
And then, as the movie progresses, everything in the plot brings us to Ultron and the creation of Vision.
Yeah.
So I got to tell you, I loved it. I know I'm being manipulated watching this film, okay? And I'm loving that manipulation, because when we get to the revelation of the Vision and he comes out of the box, I about cheered. That was like one of my best moments in that film, all right? He is so the Vision from the comics.
Dead on.
Wow.
Yeah, and there's already instantaneously that connection with Scarlet Witch, which I absolutely loved. because you know they had that on again off again relationship through the years.
Yep.
And you know, she, as soon as she puts her hand on that box, and she feels that, and she reads it, and it's, I don't know, it was brilliant. It's in the time, the amount of time that they had to introduce the Vision. I thought it was brilliant because we all know that Vision came from Ultron. It was that kind of progression in the comics. So obviously, it played out a lot longer in the comics, but
right.
I thought with the time that they had, it was brilliant the way they did it to bring forth the Vision and have him be Jarvis. I thought that was brilliant.
Too cool.
Yeah.
And that, you knew they had this. I mean, look. I mean, if you're not looking at all the credits, one of the co-producers of this particular movie is still Jon Favreau.
Yeah.
Who you know, as we know, directed the first 2 Iron Man movies. Right. And so that whole idea of Paul Bettany playing Jarvis.
Yep.
Somebody back then was sitting down thinking, okay, well, you know, we're going to use his voice, but ultimately we have to have an actor who's going to play the Vision.
Yeah. And
they did it.
And then he was brilliant in it. I love him as an actor anyway. You know, I don't think I've seen...
Yeah. Well, again, you know, that's the kudos to Marvel Studios for recruiting, you know, accomplished actors, good actors, and actors who represent the characters as most of us comic fans see them. I mean, one of the early things that I was seeing online when the movie was released Thursday, I got up Friday morning, and like every reviewer, one of my good friends, Derek Ferguson, is a movie reviewer I admire so much, and I love his insights. The thing is, I went to his review immediately. He'd seen it Thursday night, and in applauding the film, without giving spoilers around it, halfway through it, there's one point where he mentions Chris Evans and says, look, there's no more arguments. Okay? He said, we've had First Avenger, we had, you know, Avengers, we had Winter Soldier. He says, there's no getting out of it. Chris Evans is Steve Rogers. He is Captain America. Done deal.
Right.
And that's how you felt in the movie. They come on the sets, into the scenes, and there's Thor, all right, and there's Iron Man, and there's Captain America. I mean, these characters, these actors have so taken on these personas that they know what to do with them.
Yeah, and that's to their credit, because a personality like Robert Downey Jr., for example, is a huge personality, and usually actors with those huge personalities, they kind of overpower a role. And like you're saying, though, to his credit, he has become Tony Stark.
Right, with all his complexities and doubts.
Yeah, it's really brilliant casting throughout.
Oh, the philosophical debate between him and Cap, and him and Banner. Mm-hmm. When Dan, you know, realized he'd already made Ultron without talking to anybody.
Right.
You know what the hell you've done? You know, blah blah blah, for the greater good. And I mean, here we go.
I just love the fact that when Tony Stark sees a kind of artificial intelligence within like a mystical Asgardian staff, he doesn't think, hey, maybe we should figure out how this works. He says, hey, let's use this to power our artificial intelligence to...
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The man can't help himself. He's a compulsive inventor.
Yeah. All right, so my 2 nitpicks real quickly. The farm scene is not my nitpick exactly. It's the fact that, and it's a personal bias, and I'll explain it. The fact that Hawkeye has a family, I love that it humanized him. I love that it gave him more depth as a character, because he needed that, and we've lost Gordon again. But he needed that from the first movie. My problem is, because Mockingbird is on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and they have that history, I wanted them to be together. And so it kind of bothers me that can't happen, at least unless something, you know, tragic were to happen. Yeah. Right. Which I don't want to see, obviously.
No.
So,
well, you know, right. Look, let me address that for a second. Sure. You know, when that scene unfolded, it nailed me very much to the point of saying, wow, that's a really radical departure. Mm-hmm. All right? But then again, there's a part of me that then turns around and congratulates Whedon for having the courage to do that. Yeah. All right? Because, I mean, you know, all of us here have talked about Arrow and how we applaud the writers for taking Arrow in a different direction and making him like, a pseudo Batman.
Mm-hmm.
And so here was a case where Whedon has this cocky, brash, irreverent Archer guy, and he turns around and shows us he's actually got a wife and kid and this softer side to him that none of us suspected.
Yeah.
That he kept hidden. And so even though it caught me up short, I won't say it didn't, Brant. It was totally out of left field.
Right.
But I came away with it going, okay, well, you know what? If you're going to fail going for an A, not going for a C or a D. And and if it didn't work for you, then at least I hope you respect the fact that we tried something.
Oh, absolutely. And it's interesting because that is a scene, the whole farm scene thing is one that he fought for to be in the film. There's this whole article on Marvel enforced that Thor scene in the cave with the water, and they wanted that film to be in there, and Whedon wanted the farm scene, and they were kind of like, well, it's trade off,
Yep.
You put this in, you can have your farm scene, and read into that what you want, whatever.
Well, yeah, but then the real sadness is they even ended up truncating the pool scene.
Yeah,
because was it the Black Panther's mother or something supposed to be in that scene?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, that ended up on the cutting room floor.
Yeah.
I mean, Marvel fights so much to get the scene, and then they truncate it.
Yeah. From what I understand, there's like the director's cut is like 3.5 hours.
Yeah, and it's going to be released. Apparently, there is going to be the uncut version coming.
Right, and I know there was a Loki scene or two scenes with Loki that were cut because just space and all that, and but yeah, I mean Marvel had to put something in there to tie to the other movies because they're leading up to this big Infinity War. It has to be there. So I understand the need for the Thor scene, and I don't know why people have a problem with it. It did feel a little, like you said, it was probably because it was truncated that it felt a little shoehorned in there.
Yeah, well, yeah, it comes at this point where it's like the strategy for the final battle with Ultron, and then all of a sudden, like Thor's in a hot spring with the Professor.
Right.
Was this time for R&R? Did I miss something here?
Yeah.
And then you figure out what it is.
Right.
But it could have been done a lot better, and had they not shortened that scene, maybe we get a better feel for it integrated into the story. Now, you bring that up, and we're talking about the fact that they're going to release an uncut version.
Mm-hmm.
All right? You do know, right, that they did film a scene where Quicksilver isn't dead.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Marvel pushed that on him as well.
Okay.
So there was a scene they did where he's laying there shot, but then he lifts his head up and says something like it'll take more than 47 bullets to kill me or some ridiculous stupid thing.
Yeah.
And then he was supposedly they made sure he's in that group scene at the end when Captain and Black Widow show up.
Okay.
Now, Whedon didn't want that. He cut it out. Whedon's argument for that in the reports we were reading online, and I agree with it. Whedon said this was a war. All right, it would have no gravitas at all if all the good guys only got scratches.
Yeah.
So somebody was going to buy it, and it worked out. The script worked out, so it does. And then there's the elements where, and this I love. The fact that Pietro and Hawkeye butted heads constantly, and Hawkeye couldn't stand him, but at the end, he's the guy who saves his life.
Yeah.
That's a powerful sequence in and of itself. And trivia question, because I didn't know this, okay? But you guys probably do. All right? The actor who played Quicksilver, you guys know he's kick-ass, right?
Yep.
Sadly, yes.
I didn't know
I
that.
about dropped out of my chair the other day. I was having coffee with a friend of mine, and he said that, and I thought he was pulling my leg. Honest to God. I said, so I went home and checked it out. Holy smokes. Talk about a transformation.
Yeah, he bulked up quite a bit.
Wow.
Here's another piece of trivia for you, and you probably know this one. Him and the girl that plays Scarlet Witch, they played husband and wife in Godzilla.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
And here's a piece of trivia that both of you probably do know but don't care. The Scarlet Witch is actually the older sister of the Olsen twins.
Is she the older or younger?
I think she's... Actually, I take that back. I think she's the younger.
Yeah. Right. She just looks older because she's a lot taller. And
I didn't know that, but Valerie did.
Yeah.
Was sitting in the theater, and she goes, "You know the Olsen twins?" And I went, "Yeah, that's her youngest. That's their younger sister." Okay, thank you, dear.
Yeah, she's a much better actress than they are. To say that.
Well, she's
eaten quite a few cheeseburgers, if you catch my meaning.
Oh, shit.
Oh, I'm going to burn in hell for that one.
Oh yes. Hey, let's move this up along. I mean, unless either of you want to, keep talking about Age of Ultron.
I do want to say one thing real quick.
Go right ahead.
Because we were just talking about that. My other nitpick was that Quicksilver died. So,
I was bummed out too.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a good character and really, very charismatic, made himself known in the film. But again, it only made that film, to me anyways, a lot more dramatic. All right, and again, like I said, what Whedon was going for, there was loss.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, it harkens back to Cap, talking to Tony in the first one about, everybody doesn't win, everybody doesn't come back. Right. And he says that line in this movie when they get ready to go to battle.
Yeah.
Some of us aren't going to come back.
That's true. And, we also got to think about this. It is a comic film, and anything's possible in comics. So,
well, I mean, the thing I liked about the scene, and I'm sorry, okay, it's tear jerky and maudlin, and I get that.
Right.
But the truth is, he not only saved Hawkeye, who they had this natural animosity against each other, but he saved Hawkeye, who was trying to save some little kid.
Right.
That was supposedly the point of Quicksilver's sacrifice.
Yeah.
All right, you're going to save a buddy, but a buddy who's trying to protect children as well. So
right.
It's a noble sacrifice.
Yeah. And I love the way that they painted both Pietro and Wanda as their whole purpose was because their whole country was, under war from Stark, and that's how they lost their parents and all this stuff. So their core beliefs and their core reasons for doing things was because they were they had good intentions.
Right.
Is the point I'm getting at. Right.
I mean, up to a point, Ultron obviously, lies to them.
Right.
Okay. About I'm going to get your country back. It's justice, and for all that it's been dumped on by Western and other countries.
Yeah.
But at the end, they realize, that that's really not the case. He wants to wipe out all mankind.
Right.
Which is a whole other story in itself.
Mm-hmm.
And they do the right thing.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So where did you want to move on to, Ron?
I just want to move on to the fact that this movie can't be out an entire week. And we're already talking about the next one, which is going to have the entire state of New Jersey in it.
Oh, man. Captain America Civil War.
That is insane.
It is. I mean, I knew that they were going to have some characters in it, but I had no idea. It makes sense because, it's Civil War, but with so little lead up to that particular story.
At the top of my head here, guys, okay, from reading all the articles on our agenda, all right, you're going to have all the Avengers except the Hulk
and Thor. I think I don't think Thor.
And no offense if anybody's mewing and crying, listening to us. Oh, the Hulk! Forget it. You're not even going to know he's not there.
Yeah.
Because not only are you going to have all of these characters coming back, all right, you're also going to have the Ant-Man joining up.
Yeah.
You're also going to have the Black Panther joining up.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then you're going to have Cap. And Winter Soldier coming back.
Agent 13.
It's supposed to be a Captain America movie with 20 other superheroes.
Yeah, Agent 13 is going to be in there. There
you go. Emily Van Camp, her bigger role.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Martin Freeman has joined, Bilbo Baggins and
Watson.
Sure. Thank you. I couldn't left my mind for a second. He's going to be joining some undefined role. There's rumors of Spider-Man being in it.
Yep. So, Gordon, what kind of a movie are we talking here? A 4-hour film?
Well, I don't know. I do know they just announced that the Infinity War will be shot completely with IMAX cameras.
Yeah.
So I think I could see it being like a good 3-hour movie, and then with Infinity War being split into two halves, that could be like a 6-hour extravaganza.
Right.
Right.
But man, this is such a huge cast, and who knows how. Not only that, there's obviously you go on the other side of things. You got Zemo, you got Crossbones is going to be in it.
Right. Exactly. See.
Yeah. Thunderbolt Ross. I mean, It's just so much.
Paste Pot Pete.
I wouldn't be surprised. John? No.
Yeah, I hear it's going to be so crowded they're not going to let Stan Lee have a cameo.
Oh man!
But I mean, look. Obviously, the truth of the matter is, this particular film is really very much nothing but the setup for the Infinity Wars.
Yeah.
Because it's basically going to be the philosophical Civil War from out of the comic book series, i.e. Cap, on one side of the fence and Tony Stark on the other side of the fence, fighting each other, and most likely, as what we've read online, because they've been, hinting at the synopsis to a degree, it'll basically end with them at odds.
Yeah.
Then you come back to the Infinity Wars, where the ultimate threat is once again Thanos and the aliens, and all the good guys have to band together again and somehow work out their differences.
Yeah, it's a huge undertaking, and talk about the Avengers movies being bloated and them handling. I mean, to their credit, they handled both very well, but this is a huge cast, and unless we're seeing just like little cameos, this worries me a little bit.
Yeah, well, and again, to talk about not catching your breath, all right? Most of these actors in the principal roles, because obviously, all the guys, all the Avengers and everybody, and seeing that's what we talked about earlier with Age of Ultron, a cast this huge, everybody's not going to get their big fair share of the spotlight. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Basically, it's going to be Cap and Tony going at each other as the leader of these two philosophical factions, plus the villains and whatever, okay? But what I was just going to say is most of these actors now have just gotten off like a 6-month whirlwind tour, right, of all the cinemas in Japan and Europe and England, right, promoting Age of Ultron.
Right.
And 2 days ago, they had to report to Pine Street Studios in England to start filming Civil War.
Wow. That's crazy.
It's coming. It's a year away. It's going to be here at this time next year.
Yep. That's insane. And what else are we getting? Doctor Strange is the other movie next year, I think.
Right. Doctor Strange next year, right. Well, we're going to have what's coming up next, because I mentioned we're going to have Ant-Man coming out next this year. And obviously, they've already, they've said full out. He's going to be in the, he's already tied. We've talked about this from what we've learned. There are going to be flashbacks in the Ant-Man movie where a younger Henry Pym is working with Tony Stark and Peggy Carter.
Yeah.
So, again, that's going to tie things up like they do with every film they put out.
Yeah, exactly. And it's going to be interesting to see what threads from all this that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. picks up. Because both of these movies are obviously coming out before the next season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. starts. So. Yep. It's overwhelming a little bit, but it's a good overwhelming. I'm excited about all this, but it's so much coming down the line.
Well, again, we talked about little nitpicks, but I got to tell you, the props I give this film was the big party at the Avengers headquarters at the start.
Yeah.
Where you had Anthony Mack as the Falcon, and you had Don Cheadle in there, and that whole lighthearted bit about the hammer was just too funny.
Yeah.
But I love the payoff later in the film when everyone's like, "Oh, we can't lift this." The Vision's like, "Here you go."
Yeah, exactly.
There were two scenes with the hammer after that paid off for me, Gordon. Then the first one was when they're fighting Strucker in the Alps or whatever, and Thor throws the hammer, and Quicksilver's going the other way and sees it.
Yep.
Grabs.
He's like, oh. Yeah.
Funny. But the look on Thor's face when Vision hands him the hammer. That was priceless. That was absolutely great.
And the way the humor with them trying to justify it that he's not really human, and the whole put it in an elevator.
And then again, even the little bit about Cap's little being offended by Tony's language at the start of the film, and then they start playing and they start riding him on that.
Yeah.
About, ooh, don't use bad words around Captain America.
Yeah. That was nice. It was those little touches throughout. This was a really good film. I mean, there was somebody made a comment. I don't remember who it was, but somebody I was reading comments, and they said that almost every piece of dialogue in this movie meant something. There was no real throwaway lines, aside from some of the humor. But every line from every character meant something in this film, and that's rare, and it's good. And it's it's kind of refreshing.
That's good writing. That's good writing.
Exactly.
Okay. Right. And again, it's why Age of Ultron to me is just as good as the first Avengers movie, is that it hits all the right beats. Okay, it has a really, really solid story to tell you, but at the same time, it has plenty of action, it has plenty of drama, and beautifully peppered throughout those the humor involved, and that it lightens it up just when you need it to.
And personally, I have to say I loved James Spader as Ultron. I thought he was brilliant.
Yep.
I loved I read one review and they were sick and tired of the whole "No Strings on Me" song throughout it, but I thought it was brilliant the way he sprinkled it here and there.
Yep.
And it was just it came at moments where it just felt right, and he was just this creepy. I know Ultron is supposed to be this threatening, totally bad, nobody can beat him, and I think they did a well enough job presenting that as he progressed. And obviously with Ultron, he can't really die. He's in there somewhere. He's he can always come back. But I love the creepy factor they did. It really,
Oh, he was a threatening villain.
Yeah.
Totally.
And he was one of those like when he tore the guy's arm off, he was like, "Oh, I'm sure it'll be fine." It's just like,
yeah, we know who that guy's going to be.
Yeah. So
right? I mean, that's the guy who ends up with the sonic arm or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Ulysses Claw.
Right.
Yeah, Ulysses Claw.
Yeah.
Played by Andy Serkis. So.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I didn't even make that connection.
They set us up for that.
Nice.
Yeah, there's never anything throwaway, even the sub characters. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, like Crossbones and Winter Soldier. I mean, in the new movie, he's gonna come back as Crossbones.
Yeah.
You know he is.
Yeah. It's funny when he came on screen, Serkis. I went to see the movie with Lisa, and she was like, "Is that Andy Serkis?" And I was like, "I don't know. It looks like him." And I wasn't sure because I didn't remember that he was in it. But yeah, sure enough.
Yeah, he hasn't had too many roles where we see his real face.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, just brilliant.
Yeah, and the thing about James Spader as Ultron is that Ultron is creepy and robotic, and the great thing is in real life, James Spader is kind of creepy and robotic, so it's a perfect blend.
Yeah. I love him in The Blacklist. I don't know if either one of you watched that, but he's a similar kind of character. He's just this kind of, I don't know. He's really deceptive, but he acts like he's your friend kind of thing, and he portrayed that a little bit in Ultron too.
But my wife only watched. I don't. My wife watches it and faithfully, and the only reason is because of James Spader.
Yeah,
she absolutely thinks he's great. And watching that film, we were coming out of the theater talking about it, and I said, man, that was just dead on casting. And that's what she said. She said, well, he's the same way he's mesmerizing.
Yeah.
He's got that kind of a voice that you pay attention to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's brilliant in that show. I absolutely love that show, just mainly because of him too. So.
Yep. Yeah, I gave up on it because of the gorgeous drop dead Victoria's Secret FBI agent. After like about 4 episodes, I was like, I can't do it. And Val, what's my? I don't believe her. It's just not real, okay? And so, well, I'm watching it. Oh, it's just, okay, good.
She gets more believable. Yeah, she goes through.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. Well, like I said, Valerie could care less if there's nobody else on the bloody screen. She thinks, Spade is great, and I'm not going to argue that,
Yeah. Excellent. All right, so I guess it's a resounding, we love the film.
Yes.
Age of Ultron. So that's
good. And I hope when the DVD and the Blu-rays come out, like I said, we've talked, it's going to be an uncut version.
Yeah.
Which would be nice if they put that on the same, like a Blu-ray, combo disc.
Yeah.
So you could watch it either way,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I would absolutely love to see that cut. I would probably take a break halfway through, but I would love to see
it. 3.5 hours. Yeah, just a little bit. I think I'm going to go to the bathroom, get something to eat. Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, but it'll definitely be worth seeing. All right, so did you guys want to talk about anything else? This is more of a shorter show because, we wanted to focus more on this movie.
Just throw in, a couple other the TV shows we've talked about, because all of us have seen The Flash, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. To me, in a nutshell, Reader's Digest version, it was the episode I've been waiting all season for, and it didn't disappoint. I absolutely love me Gorilla Grodd. He is my favorite Flash villain, and watching him and the whole scenario was absolutely great. That's what I loved about the show. What I hated about the show is the worst written character on television today is Iris West. And please understand, I am not demeaning the young lady who plays her. She has the poor job of having to read this nonsensical, stupid dialogue that made her out all season long to be an egotistical, self-centered bitch who only thinks about herself. And now, she's the victim because they didn't tell her he was the Flash. Oh, my wife and I are gagging, all right? And believe me, we're not the only ones. I see chats online and whatever. They can write this show so brilliantly. What the hell did they have against Iris?
Discarding all of that, there was one scene in that episode that kind of bugged me on the stupidity of it, which involved her. We see when they're tracking Grodd and Flash down in the sewers, they show a screen that has a line going from one end to the other, and on one end it's red, one end it's blue, one end it says Flash, one end it says Grodd, and she says, "So that red dot, that's Barry?" And they're like, "Yes." And she says, "And the blue one? Grodd." It was just like, what? That was like beyond stupid. Were you going to say something, Gordon?
Yeah, I was going to first ask, Ron, have you been talking to John? Because you channeled him so eerily in your review.
That is true.
But yeah, I understand the need to keep at least one person in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
I do think, and I kind of thought it was I know they're taking their cues from some of the things that Mark Waid did, but I kind of thought when Eobard shows Eddie, oh, hey, look, your girlfriend, she's going to marry this guy.
Yeah.
To me, it was kind of like, in Wade's run, part of what happens is there's two families, the Allens and the Thawns.
Right.
And Eobard does the same thing to Eddie in the comics, and so Eddie gets all resentful, blah, 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 blah.
Sure.
I do think, I do hope next season they give her a little bit more strength and at least kind of say, like, not treat her as the kind of one-dimensional, because she's been very poorly written.
Yeah.
Yep. That's what I said.
Honestly, I think they're trying hard not to make her Lois Lane, and in doing that, they've kind of stripped her of the character that she is. They've stripped her of
there's no self-reliance in this character whatsoever.
Right.
I mean, all she does is walks around pouting and stamping her foot down like a spoiled little brat. It's just, it's so annoying. I mean, we already mentioned that episode a couple episodes back where Barry talked to her about Eddie, and we all thought he got to her, and she goes into the squad room and embarrasses him there in front of everybody.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I mean, are you purposely that thick-headed? I mean, it's like, what are these writers thinking? Because, I mean, especially guys, come on, this day and age, All right, I mean, they write Caitlin well.
Yeah.
Right? They have no problems writing Caitlin or any of the other women they put on this show so far. All right? But they can't write Iris to be a strong, self-reliant woman who appreciates the people around her.
It's
like that would so change the story.
Yeah. It's the same problem they ran into in Arrow with Laurel Lance. Yeah. I think honestly, I'm not even going to blame the writers on this. I'm going to blame CW because I wouldn't be surprised if that wasn't a CW influence because they need that dramatic character to cause the tension, to be in the dark and all that stuff. And that's kind of a CW thing. There's always that kind of character. And it's always annoying. And
hopefully,
like Laurel, she'll progress out of that.
Please.
I'm hoping that at the end in the final episode, Professor Eobard or Wells says, yeah, you know what? I went back in time and I messed with Iris's head so she would be such a wuss this past year. Because that's the only way I can explain it.
Right. But aside from that, the cast is great.
No, hey, look, when Grodd's got Detective West,
mm-hmm.
and he tries to give him a banana.
Yeah.
You want a banana?
And wasn't he brilliant as because he's a strong character, Joe. Joe is a strong, again, you were talking about how Iris isn't self-reliant. He is very self-reliant. He's very, he's that father figure. But once he was faced up with something that he just could not comprehend, he couldn't combat, he was terrified out of his boots, and he was brilliant.
Right. And they make him vulnerable when he needs to be, but at the same time, they make him tough and loyal to a fault,
Yeah.
And that's what I wish would have rubbed off on his daughter a little bit,
Yeah.
Oh, anyways. So, I feel right now, if they don't change her character, my advice to Barry, forget the marriage thing, okay? You're better off by yourself.
You know what they should do? They should send her off to live in Starling City and have her hang out with Felicity. That will toughen her up.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I like that. All right.
And Arrow, I haven't watched the most recent episode, as we mentioned earlier, so I can't speak on that. But I've loved the build-up with Ra's al Ghul and all that, his decision. And, I don't know where it's going, Gordon. I know you've seen it, so... It's interesting, though. It's an interesting twist on that whole mythos of the League of Assassins.
It is. Now, okay, here's what I got to tell you guys, though, because I'll get off the subject. I don't want any spoilers. You got to watch it, Brant. It's really well done.
All right.
But did both of you see the season finale of Gotham?
I have not, but I don't mind being spoiled on it because I'm like 5 episodes behind.
Okay, well, look, I'm not going to spoil it as such, but I'll give you the biggest tease in the world, okay, Brant?
All right.
And Gordon has seen it, so he's going to know what I'm talking about. The last 20 minutes of this show, Brant, all the major crime bosses in Gotham end up in the same garage, and bullets fly.
Yeah, I actually accidentally saw a teaser that Penguin was firing a machine gun or something. That's the only thing I saw.
Everybody doesn't make it out.
Okay.
It's wild. It's a good payoff. It's a really good payoff. And there's another payoff for Bruce and Alfred, which, again, I'm not going to spoil, but it totally caps that part of Bruce's life that we've seen this season.
Good.
All right, it's a closing sequence that lasts maybe all of 10 seconds and sets you totally up. It's a great finale because it really sets you up for season 2.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one show. I love the show, but it's one that I have to be in the mood to watch it. So I've been kind of gradually catching up on that one.
Yeah, when you see, we'll talk next time we get together. We'll talk about the season wrap up of Gotham and all of us, and what we all thought about, how they closed out storylines between the major characters.
Absolutely, I'll be sure to catch up by then.
Yep.
So I am enjoying it though. The most recent episode I watched was when Fish dug out her own eyeball.
Oh
yeah.
Oh yeah, but
that gets better
during family hour.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought it was funny though in that episode how Barbara came home and she finds two teenage girls in her house and she's like, "Who are you?" Just kind of sits down with them and has cereal and stuff.
Oh yes. Oh.
Interesting.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll definitely have to catch up on that one though.
Oh yeah, I really think you're gonna like the ending because like yourself, it's one of those shows that I would watch, and some episodes were a lot better than others, right? And it just didn't seem to know where it's going, but they were smart enough to end it, like I said, and close out several storylines fittingly.
Nice.
So that it's a real springboard for a season 2.
Good. I'm looking forward to it. All right. So I guess that's going to wrap us up then, because I can't think of any other topics that we really need to cover. And I think we covered all the major comic shows. Yeah. All right. So I guess this is the point where we go around the table and see what everybody has coming out, and going on. Gordon, what you got?
Okay. Well, this weekend I have not one, but 2 events that I'll be attending. The first is at DePaul's School of Daly Center, which is at 14 East Jackson. I will be. It's a celebration of supernatural. It's my friend Paul puts on these one-day academic/fan seminars. 2 years ago he did Doctor Who. Last year it's Joss Whedon. This year it's supernatural. So it's the Winchester brothers and their wacky shenanigans in the spirit world. And I want to publicly thank you, Brant, for helping me play catch up. So I will be at a 9:00 panel talking about the influences of supernatural, and I'll be floating about. So join us all day on Friday. On Saturday, May 9th from 9 to 6. And then Sunday, as part of Chicago Nerd Social Club, I will be on a panel entitled Leverage 101. Because as we all know, the rich and powerful get to feel like they can take what we want, and we'll steal it back for you. Because we provide leverage. So we're going to watch The Nigerian Job, which is the first episode of Leverage. And we're going to geek out on it, and
classic.
And it's No Stabbing Sunday at Geek Bar, 1916 West North. So come by, and if you come, you must buy me a drink. Unless you're Ron or Brant, then you're not obligated. But you must buy me food if I am there.
All right.
If you're
Gordon, you cut out on the last part.
I'm just saying, that's it. That's it for me.
Okay. And speaking of Supernatural, it got renewed for season 11.
Yes, it did.
The show's never going to end, and I love it. I still love it. All right, Ron, what about you?
Okie doke. Just a couple things, but the major thing, we've been busy at Airship 27 doing a lot of books that are all converging and coming together and should be coming out in the next couple of weeks. But 2 things I do want to talk about is last night we recorded, again, thanks to Brant and Zone 4, the 4th hour episode of the Airship 27 podcast, where myself and my buddy Rob Davis just talk about new pulps and what we're doing and what's happening in the business, and I'll hopefully offer some behind the scenes look into how writers and artists work and what we do. So hopefully that episode will be out sometimes next week, and it'll get posted on Facebook and online, etc. And thanks for everybody who's listening in, and thanks for the people writing comments. We really appreciate it. Now, the big thing I wanted to talk about, and I did promote it on the show last night as well, is last year, at the end of last year, I was approached by a gentleman named T. Glenn Bain and his wife, Teresa, and they run a role-playing game company. They make role-playing games, all right? And it's called Scald Crow, SCALDCROW, Scald Crow Games, all right? Well, someplace along the lines, Glenn had run across some of my pulp stories featuring my character, Brother Bones, the Undead Avenger. And he picked them up, he'd read them, he became a huge fan, And so he came knocking on my door, excuse me, asking if we would give him permission to do a gaming module based on all my Brother Bones stories. And he put together this package and proposal, and he, excuse me, guys, and he and his wife and his head writer, Drew Meyer, basically launched a Kickstarter program to create this module that can be played with all kinds of pulp role-playing games. So the module itself is called Ron Fortier's Cape Noir, which is the city on the West Coast that Brother Bones inhabits, along with dozens of bizarre and unnatural characters, both good and bad. Glenn and his team have been working since the first of the year, putting together this package. I've seen the character index. It's well over 800 characters. They have gone full out to do this. So Rob Davis and I have been helping them any way we can. So if you're at all into gaming, okay, and you like pulps and you like supernatural horror stuff, please check it out. Help support them get this. As of this morning, they're past the 2/3 mark, guys. So they're closing in on their goal, and I believe there's still 14 days left in the campaign. You can find them again. Go to Kickstarter, look for Ron Fortier's Cape Noir, and that's where you'll see the Kickstarter. If you're into gaming, some of the premiums they're going to offer are going to include 4 actual audio MP3 files of Brother Bones adventures that were produced and recorded a couple of years ago. These things are a riot to listen to. And Rob Davis, God bless his soul, has actually provided Scarecrow Games with 2 pieces of original artwork that illustrated some of the Brother Bones stories that appeared in our anthologies and magazines. So, again, tons of great premiums. If you like role-playing games, please, Scarecrow Games, support a really worthy cause, and I thank you, and my mother thanks you, and my family thanks you. So that's what I got.
Awesome. Very cool. And speaking of Kickstarters, real quick, I wanted to plug our good friend Chuck Moore's Kickstarter that he's involved with. I wanted to get him on the show to talk about it, but he wasn't available to come on, so I told him I would mention it for him. It's for Bizarre New World. It's the human race can fly, and basically it's the premise of this character, Paul Crutcher. He's the only man that can fly, but it doesn't last long because everybody in the entire world gains the power of flight, and it becomes a bizarre new world. And this Kickstarter is for a 278-page, basically anthology of different stories featuring characters in this world by over 50 creators. Names like Karina Becco, who has worked on the Star Wars books, Rick Leonardi, Michael Sangiacomo, Skipper Martin is the guy putting it all together, and of course, comic-related founder Chuck Moore has his very first published comic work in this anthology, which you can actually read his entire story on comicrelated.com, and there'll be a link in the show notes below to read that. And it's a story that he's had done for a number of years, and he's just been waiting for it to actually come out. So he's obviously very excited about it. We're excited for him. It has 3 weeks left as of this airing, and they're about 20% to their goal. So if you guys feel so inclined, go check it out. All right, so as far as me, not a whole lot to report except for Last Ember Press. Check out lastemberpress.com. We are still, heading towards our launch date at Derby City Comic-Con. We've got art coming in left and right. We're getting cover sketches now for some of the books coming in. Very excited about it. Trying to get an artist for our last story that we have to have for one of our books, and we've got John's book. Since he's not here, Pneumatic Cases. All the art is done. Pencils and inks are done. So we're heading into the coloring stage for that one, and we're racing towards this deadline because we got less than 2 months until this convention. So yeah.
How true.
Yeah, but it's exciting. We're so pumped for it, and we're ready to share these books with everybody. So that's the main thing going on with me right now. I've been lettering a lot of stuff lately. Not sure when any of it's coming out just yet, so I'll wait until I have dates and details on all that stuff before I talk about that. Of course, check out Comic Frontline. I'm over there on the live shows most Tuesdays. I've missed the past couple due to being sick and whatever, but I'm usually over there doing that. And of course, comicrelated.com, where you can find myself and John and Chuck all posting every single day. So check that out. And yeah, that's it. So, Ron, I think it's your turn to read us out.
All right, gladly. We'd like to thank the official bands of Zone 4, the Ray Wall Band, and Society's Play that you hear on the show each and every week. We are also proud members of the Comic Related Podcast Network. You can find us on comicrelated.com, Comic Frontline, Stitcher, iTunes, and of course, zone4podcast.com. If you have any comments, good or bad, funny, serious, whatever, questions, suggestions for us, all right, send them to Gordon, because he likes to get mail. All right, no.
Right.
Send those to zone4 at comicrelated.com. And trust me, we do read all of them, and we appreciate them dearly, especially having you loyal Legionnaires out there listening. So as always, thank you for listening. You are now leaving Zone 4.
And remember, we will take cash donations.
Absolutely. All day, every day.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
On the streets of New York City, he steps out to make a stand. He's Spider-Man.
This has been a Gonzo Goose production.